Listen to me very carefully.
You are listening to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. House baby.
My mission is to go and destroy and not to let anything get involved. You get punched, you get hurt. I refuse to be hurt, knocked down, and knocked out. I can't lose. I refuse to lose.
He's been mentioned as a possible opponent.
I take all comers. I don't duck any man.
Can we assume that Michael Dokes is one of the prospects?
All comers. Come one, come all. Because nobody can get close to me. They're not even close. I'm the best fighter in the world.
Yes, hello. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I am your host, V. And I have with me my co-host, Bill the Butcher.
Hello, hello, hello.
And Will Turbot.
What is going on, everybody? How you doing?
Well, what's going on is we have a real celebrity on the show tonight. We have the one and only Allan Atkin, a.k.a. MKULTRA Girl. Well, everybody knows whenever you do a Google search for MKULTRA mind control, well, the images, the most common one you'll see is of a little girl and strapped down to a hospital bed and, connected to medical instruments. Now, the very girl that's in this picture is on the show with us tonight. Go ahead.
Wow, when you said MKUltra Girl, I thought you were just like some girl that took that as her moniker online or her online handle. This is a tremendous honor. This is incredible. Wow, thank you.
And
hi,
me too,
thanks.
ma'am. Ma'am, it's a very great honor to meet you. Thank you very much for being on our show.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for that wonderful, warm welcome. I'm honored as well.
And you have the floor, by the way, so we'll go in any direction you want to go.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot for having me on, V, and your co-host. I want to talk about the lawsuit that has progressed or transpired since, it was filed in January of 2019, so it's been about a year in the making. We are now at the stage of anyway, actually, I'm skipping ahead. So I'll just do a brief thanks for that introduction. Yeah, I am the real girl. I mean, that's the funny thing. People think I just use that moniker. That's correct. Will, you're right. But no, that's me. That is most likely me, 99.9% most likely me. I can't say for sure because I don't have a recall of that. But that's typical for the experiments and all that went on. Now, I do know that my mother and father were both part of these MKUltra mind control experiments in Montreal in the 50s and 60s. So that is well known. That was known by me growing up, except I didn't know my father was had been to the same hospital my mom had been to. I only found that out recently. So anyway, this hospital is called the Allan Memorial Institute, which is a division of the Royal Victoria Hospital at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, Quebec, Canada. So this is where these experiments took place. These pertaining to this lawsuit and my family and others' families that are involved in this class action. But I'm not discounting that these experiments didn't take place all over North America and the world, because I'm sure they have. There's plenty of survivor testimony. However, we have come together and formed a class action lawsuit. Now, I'd like to impress upon the audience that this did not come, easy. It was a lot of work and a lot of focus, and it was somewhat also aided. Well, in fact, it was completely broken open as come to light in the public sphere because of John Marks getting information on MKUltra after repeated Freedom of Information requests from the United States government concerning the topic of MKUltra. So finally, after years and years, they gave him some boxes of financial records, and through forensic analysis of those records, he found the evidence that the CIA had paid this doctor, Ewan Cameron, in Montreal at McGill University, functioning at the hospital at the Allan Memorial, had paid him to do these mind control experiments on Canadians. So this is how, then it hit the news. And from that, we're here today, and there's a lot in between because that was the 70s. So I was a child of two people who were both severely experimented on in the most, the highest level of these programs, which includes sleep therapy, which means that they were put to sleep for up to, my mother was 17 days, and I haven't reread my dad's records yet, but he was also put in sleep therapy. They were given shock treatments.
Wow. And
they were given drugs. And this, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah. These are very, very, very hard treatments. Okay. This is extremely it's whatever, EMP weapon stuff, like the real thing times 1,000%. We're talking, shock treatments to the head that were administered at 10 times the strength and for much longer and more frequent durations over whatever period of time that they were in there for. And in my mom's case, it was 3 months. My dad was in there 3 times for 6 weeks, 3 months. I'd have to be more up on the files. Understandably, these files are difficult to read. However, they are enlightening. So, it's just a big opening, a big area of discovery for me, but it's also a matter of rectifying my history, the truth of my life, who I am, my family, who they are, dead and alive. I really only have one sibling left. My parents are dead, and my brother died young. But I do have a sister. Now, she suffered from mental problems beginning in her teens, early onset schizophrenia and manic depression, whatever. They just called it anything they want. There's never, what it turns out is that Ewan Cameron and his doctor teams were really trying to fit everybody into the schizophrenic hold. They were like, is she schizophrenic? I think she's schizophrenic. Well, she's kind of is he schizophrenic? Yeah. They really wanted to get that label on people. So, that's where it came from. But my sister manifested, violent schizophrenia in her teen years, and it was terribly unmanageable for the family, and that wound her up in an institution. So and then my brother died when he was 19 in a canoeing accident, which seemingly is unrelated. There was no foul play. He was in an accident. However, it would be maybe, just to test part of the, tragedy would be just that he wasn't given swimming lessons, or, he drowned, and, because he was neglected. But we were all neglected. But it wasn't the kind of neglect that, you might think of in The Grapes of Wrath or even SRA. It was nothing like that. It wasn't. I actually didn't have a terrible upbringing. My parents did, now that I look back on it and I've put more of these pieces together, they actually did a pretty good job, and I carried around all this bitterness and towards them, and all this, like, what are you crazy people, and then me having to disassociate from everything and everyone I knew growing up, just to have a life that I could pursue what I felt would be, my creative right to be and freedom. And for that, I moved from one side of Canada to the other. I went to British Columbia, where I live now. So I've spent about half my life in British Columbia, but that really was, I had to close a big door and it's never open again. I don't have any connections for my growing up life. Now, that could be a good thing, but of course, it makes for a kind of sad, empty life as well. But the trade-off is that I'm able to, I was able to fulfill, to be self-employed, independent, get my photography career happening, get all kinds of skills, and it just wasn't happening in Toronto. So that's what happened there. But that is part of my personal story. But I'm focusing on now because I'm reasonably stable, and I'm focusing on this lawsuit and the campaign to rout out the cult and bring awareness for the lawsuit, and also make it known publicly that there is forward movement in this arena for survivors. When I went public in October 2015. And it was shortly after I recognized myself in that picture. I knew I did it as a public thing. I'm like, oh my God, I have to get into this. This is like, if this isn't the clarion call of my life, I don't know what is. I had turned off so many. They were basically all just. I don't know. It never felt like I was living my life. Pardon? What?
Well, I was going to ask you, what was that like, finding that you recognize yourself being somewhere else in another point in time and space that you don't have any memory of? That had to have been devastating.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was. It was shocking. At the moment, and I'll never forget it. I ran to, here's exactly what happened. I was looking at the picture on my smartphone, and it was just one of those, 10 crazy MKUltra facts or whatever sites, and I saw it, and I got a real telepathic connection with that picture as soon as I saw it, which manifested as a kind of warm, fuzzy feeling. And I looked at it a little harder, and I looked at the eyes, and I looked at the shape of the eyes, and as soon as I saw those eyes, I locked onto them, and I knew they were my eyes. My eyes are very unique. They're kind of like teardrops or birds' wings. They're kind of like that. They're droopy, which may be a result of all that electroshock. But anyway, I could see them, and I saw the difference. And one's different from the other one. You could see that in there too. So I got shocked. I was like, "What?" And I jumped up, and I got to my photo albums, and I took out a picture that was the most similar to that, which was my grade 2 picture. And that's the one that stuck on the MKUltra Girl original picture. I overlaid it. Like, I took that picture and I owned it. So I immediately I saw like the future, what I needed to do, and how I could step into the narrative and control it and dominate it, which is what I've done. Now I'm not like done yet, because I haven't dominated it, but I've certainly moved in to a degree that right now I can say that what I and others are doing are clearing the field. There's just been an extraordinary amount of people trying to control the narrative of and for survivors, and sometimes by survivors themselves, and an extraordinary amount of deflection and co-option and misfires, misdirects, and dead ends, and which ultimately result in survivors being silenced, suppressed further, and a perception that the movement is not a movement, or it's hopeless, or something like that, right? So I mean, we shouldn't be surprising that is the case, but that is the case. Now,
you say move. I'm sorry, you say movement, but and it's supposed to be hopeless. Are you referring to being a target individual?
Well, I would say like a targeted individual, a SRA survivor, an MKUltra survivor. There's different, categories to these abuses. I call myself an ultra. I don't fit into the SRA. My parents were not into that. I understand that satanic ritual abuse is like a prerequisite to the mind control games, or games, torture that goes on in the MKUltra program and subsequent programs after that, MK Delta and Artichoke and whatever you want to call them, but more and more. But that it's sometimes done. I've had testimony from other survivors who were in more overt Illuminati families than MKUltra, or would say satanic more, families that in some cases the parents they would just have to bugger their children. It's part of they didn't want to, but that they had to. So that's how that was told to me by a survivor. So it's a prerequisite. It's part of the technique to disassociate, which is then used to get the subject into the position or the correct dissociative state, so that they can do whatever they're going to do. Which I guess brain map, soul steal, whatever they've done. I mean, I could speculate that on forever. It's just like it's part of what everyone else is speculating on and going off on all kinds of crazy tangents. Like the worst ones are that we're going to be saved by the aliens, and this economic revaluation. Nassar is going to come and save us. None of that is going to happen. That's not that. Those are all deflections that are put there so that we continue to. Basically, it's genocide to stand down and let the darker aspects or the most maleficent control group of the let's say elite to run things. The first people they want to kill off are the other elite families, right? They're the first targets.
Well, we're going to have to go to commercial break. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we'll be right back after this segment, and we'll continue off where you left off.
Squad is over 9,000. Everything we
over 9,000. Flow over 9,000. My girl is over 9,000. The squad is over 9,000. Everything we do is over 9,000.
Okay,
Flow over 9,000.
and we are back from commercial break. Now, I would like, Allan, if you can continue on where you're saying that the Illuminati families want to kill each other off. I've heard that before, and, well, I mean, corruption, power, greed, that's to be expected, but it seems like they're working very cohesively right now. I don't know, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I'm speculating, I'm just reverse engineering. I'm just like anyone who's thinking about it in a, detective fashion with all this information that I have, especially, intensely within the last 4 years. But, so most of the targets that I talk to, a lot of them are negative blood types. And a lot of them also have history, perhaps long ago, to royalty, and that could be indigenous royalty or European or any sort of, ruling. And these people are extremely targeted. So, the conclusion, and then you look, which faction of the Illuminati has infiltrated the North American culture the most. With it's been the Nazis, with Project Paperclip and Joseph Mengele and Otto Scorsese and Reinhard Gehlen and all them, right? The 3,000 to 10,000 of them that were imported by the CIA in the 50s or after the war, right after the war, whenever that ended, 44 or 49, and they routed them out and brought them to the United States. So we can assume this was actually a Luciferian death cult that was, all in cahoots with Allen Dulles and his brother, who were running the CIA at the time, or were in and out of it, incepting it. It came from the Office of Strategic Services, which Otto Scorsese said in his biography was actually the other SS. That's what they really meant. So anyway, so who are those people? I mean, do you think they're the top of the Illuminati? Do you think they're the best? No. What about these other bloodlines and these royalties and where my family comes from, the Atkins are Ireland and England and France, and in England the Atkins are originated from the area around Camelot. I mean, you think we would have consented to this? No. So somehow, the targets are stayed on our backs through the bloodlines. And maybe, just as in the naivety my parents had, that somehow this world was going to be okay and they wouldn't have to tell us the truth about the shame they suffered at these experiments and that everything would be okay. It was the same as their parents and their parents before them. And in that vain hope, we have where we are today and this tragedy that became my family, and everybody standing down around me and my parents' families, not helping them. And so when you think about it, when I think about it, they didn't do so bad. They were decent people. They were good people underneath. I mean, I know now they were fractured multiples. I didn't know that word back then. I had no context, and neither did anyone else. Now we have it, and it's public, and we can, do our own deciphering and decoding publicly together, and take whatever we want out of it. However, I as an individual, action-oriented, results-oriented individual, I'm not going to be content to hitch my wagon on some, vain hope. I mean, in fact, when I saw that picture, I turned away from the vain hope, which was, that love and lighter new age community thing. I mean, that's where I was before I found that picture and the reality sunk into me. And then I abandoned that, which I was literally going to become an assistant to the Empress of the New World Order through this Swiss Indo economic reevaluation plan, all based on the gold in Indonesia. I'm not kidding, but all these plots, economic reevaluation plots, Nasara, it's all the same. It's all that. They'll never happen. Okay, that is literally the New World Order that they're just trying to repackage it all over and over and over again, because there's not going to be, are they going to because people, are encouraged by that to not try with the system we have to get justice, to work it, to stand up. I mean, it's just creating more jellified mind control slaves. So don't do that. Stand up.
I think that's intended. Really, I think that's intended. Hey, we have to go to another commercial break. Then we'll be back for our long segment. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. We are back. I'm just very excited to hear the rest of this the story and what's going on here. I've got to interrupt the bumper music. Yes, so I want to get more into the legal aspect of what you got going on, because I know TIs are just wondering what the hell they can do.
Exactly. Now, I have been recommending that TIs should be forming whatever, wherever, and whenever, and however and by whomever their abuse occurs, documenting it, writing reports, writing testimonies, going public, or doing covert inquiries any way they feel comfortable doing it, to get other people in the same who are also abused. And that could be an army base. It could be a Freemason club. It could be a hospital. It could be, university hospitals were notorious for MKUltra testing. They still are, really, but nobody knows it who's working there. But and then work from there. I mean, you can't. The legal profession can't possibly make one case per country. It's got to be a bunch of different. It's got to be handleable. So our case is handleable for this law firm. It's called Consumer Law Group in Montreal, because it's only pertaining to the people who are at the Allan Memorial from a certain date to a certain date. Now, if you want to check the application for certification, it is on their website. That would be Consumer Law Group Montreal Experiments. You could Google that. It's a PDF there, or you could see it on my website, which is mkultragirl.org, and there's a tab that says lawsuit, and you could click on that, and there's a link to the PDF in that article. So that's it's all there, and that those are the parameters of our suit. So I fall into that because my parents both went there at the times that the lawsuits and they both had the extreme treatment. So I have a solid case for this law fraction of the evidence or inquiry that I would like to further pursue. It's not the end of the story with my parents or myself at all. So I'm continuing to pursue evidence on myself with that picture. I've been stating openly that I'm willing to do a biometric facial scan of myself, the picture, all other pictures that I have in my library of myself. If that is something, I mean, isn't that what that technology is supposed to do? I don't know, but I don't know how to go about that. So I'd be willing to do that to prove that, in that expert way that that is me, or a 99% likelihood it is me. So I've got my mother and my father at these experiments. I've got my tragic family, and I've got me in that photograph that happens to look exactly like me. I mean, what are the mathematical odds of that not being me? I mean, really. So that would and should add to my case. Now, I'm doing all this discovery myself and all the investigative work myself. The law firm has not helped me, neither has the group of plaintiffs that's known as SAGA. They didn't help me do that. I did it all myself. I'm continuing to do this all myself. I do have support and help, and from a constant stream of ultras and people that contact me, but but as far as the focus and the energy that requires, you need a budget, you need the time. Having a team would be awesome, but I'm not there. I do it as much as I can while I work part-time, and I'm in this kind of, life's never been easy for me, right? But I've always managed to land on my feet and get what I want, and have manifesting abilities too. I have been an entrepreneur for the last 15 years of my life. I was, $250 million of my own photographs in the last 10 years through my business. So, I mean, I can do things like that. I was a salesperson as well. I won an award for selling advertising. That's where I got my skill at selling. So, I mean...
Yes, one of my directors is a big fan of yours, by the way. Oh. And, well, I've got to ask, what is the hardest part of this for you? And what is it that keeps you going?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think the hardest part really is the frustration around the length of time it's taking, and that I want to heal, and I want my life that I've never had. I want that. I'm getting closer to it. I feel it. I'm coming together. So it's an inner outer thing. It's a micro thing. I'm putting the pieces together of my life, and it's been good. That in itself is healing. Like this public campaign, this standing up for myself, and planting a flag and staking a claim and territory has been great for me. I don't know. I do understand how a lot of survivors just wouldn't go public. They couldn't for whatever reasons, family or job. But I didn't have those because, I didn't dare have a family and put them into this. I couldn't bring a child into this, so I didn't. But, unfortunately, I was, anyway, that was like, but here I am, ready to do this. And so I'm going to take up the sword, proverbial sword, and fight this fight now while I can. 57 years old, after this life that was heartbreaking, tragic, frustrating, but still I managed to, get ahead of it or learn things, but I did it on my own. Anyway, the frustration continues, but it's not as bad. So I guess that's really the hardest part. It really is. Not so much the accusations. Yes, that frustrates me, but they're dying down now. I mean, I'm kind of titanium. I mean, I kind of want people to accuse me and, to skewer me because I want attention, but it doesn't, I can't seem to get it. I know people know who I am, but I can't seem to get that viral attention. The silence is deafening, even in a negative sense. I don't even care. I'm too tough for,
Have you tried doing the Minecraft dance?
What?
Well, I'm just saying, maybe try. There's a Minecraft dance that's pretty viral. It's really stupid, but maybe if you did that, then people will pay attention. I've been thinking about different ways. That was a stupid.
God, no, I don't want to
just
play
a stupid
Minecraft.
joke there, but no, but that's one of the problems that people like yourself, who have such powerful information, people like B and Bill, who have such powerful information to share with the world. It's not ordinarily intersected into mainstream culture. We're gonna have to work on ways to get you to get viral. So everybody watching this, please. I know we have a caller that B will probably go to, I think. But what's the best way for people to reach you, get your information, so we can share with other people? Because that's the best way to make this go viral.
Okay. It's definitely my website blog, which is mkultragirl.org. It's my blog. It's my personal blog, mkultragirl.org. All right. That's the best way. There's all contact information on there, all my socials on there. That's the hub for all of it. I still have my art site, allanatkin.com, but it needs to be redone. I haven't worked on that at all. But that's my profession. But I'll get back to that soon, I hope. But anyway, this is important.
Well, it most definitely is. We do have a caller, Chris. Are you on the line? Chris,
I am,
go ahead.
as a matter of fact. And thank you so much for having me. And kudos to MKUltra Girl for her self-empowerment and empowering others. There is something I thought that she might find intriguing, that there is a secret encrypted meaning to the term MKUltra for those with the special discernment and let's call it extraterrestrial access to intel that's not usually known. And the MKUltra translates to M stands for the master, which we know as Ha-Shatan, supposedly, and it is the cult of Ra, the sun god.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
They hide these things before our very eyes. There's a couple of others that got me banned from Alex Jones's network. Chaos, Chaos, Ka-ha in ancient Hebrew is the assembly of the worshippers of Osiris. And chaos is crisis is the cry of Isis for war, war, war ad infinitum, as she is the goddess of death, destruction, bloodlust, and sexuality.
Yeah. Very good. I love exegesis. I love, or what would that be called? That other term. I love the word dissections. Absolutely. Yeah, when it's applying to the Bible, it's exegesis, but when it's just regular, I love it. That's awesome. Rosette Delacroix does that very well as well.
Well, thank you so for letting me take just a moment of your time, but you're so well informed and so educational for others. I give the show back to you, MKUltra Girl. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you very, very much. Perhaps, can you repeat that? No, it's okay. I'll go back in the archives and figure it out. But I'm going to record what you said, and thank you very much, because that's important to have the various meanings of that term. It is just like it's important to discover the origins of that picture, where it came from, and that's still a mystery. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, knowing is half the battle, right?
Well, it's true. I mean, I do all this esoteric research on top of everything, the action items, and trying to live a normal life as well. That's my topics. Those are the things. So that's great. Yeah, the MKUltra. Master, anyway, I'll have to go back and write that down to get exactly what that caller said, but that's great information. It's like, yeah, where did that MK Ultra girl picture come from? And all the other pictures of, children in the programs. Nobody knows yet. There's no definitive source. I mean, people presume it's the CIA because it looks like a CIA picture because of all the overlays on it, inlays and overlays and stamps and all that. But the CIA, there's no proof it came. It didn't come from John Marks's document dumps. It didn't come from John Greenwald's of the Black Vault. He's been getting a lot of MK Ultra documents in the last 5 years too, but it didn't come from there. He hasn't given me a definite no, but he hasn't gotten back to me. So I think if it was a yes, he would have jumped back at me. So I have asked him, but he said, "Oh yeah, I'm just really busy." But I think he would know, and I don't think it came from there. So the origins of these leaked pictures are still a mystery. Anyway, that's just more discovery. But I need to discover what happened in my family, my mother's and my dad's family, for this to happen to them. That's hopefully going to be part of my inquiry this spring when I go to Ontario and Quebec, and I will be working on a documentary. I'm working with a filmmaker, and we're going to be doing a real documentary with real, quality equipment, so I can put together something professional, and that will be also about the next rally. And this is what people can do if they're wanting to support our lawsuit, is to be at that rally. It will be in Montreal. It's in April. I don't know the date yet, but it will be in Montreal in April, where we'll be at the McGill University Allan Memorial. That's where it's going to go. There'll probably be some kind of march, but that's where I want to be in April. Want that to be part of the documentary. I want further lines of inquiry and discovery investigation into the picture, my history, my mother and my father. I want that to be in the documentary as well. So I basically have 4 months to get funding for that. So I would appreciate support that way. I would appreciate support also for people to physically show up to the rally. That'd be great. You could be in the documentary. I would also appreciate support in terms of spreading my message, spreading the word here, because the more people that are outraged by what happened to me, my family, the general population, the more it will rise into the collective consciousness, the body politic, the media, and that will affect the change. That will affect a positive outcome for the courts. That's basically their main influence all the time. And so they'll be like, "Oh God, yeah, I guess we got to do something about this now." So, but that's what we're up against.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are at the point of certification with this case, and that means that we are. The judge will say, yes, you have a lawsuit. No, you don't have a lawsuit. So when if the judge says, yes, you have a lawsuit, that's like, yes, awesome, let's do it. And then we're certified. Now, if the judge says, no, you don't have a lawsuit, it's just a big wah, 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 and it will be a setback for the entire community, for every other ultra target that wants to get justice. But they're going to have to do the work. I mean, within their own communities, wherever it happened, within, small cell organizations. It's not just an awareness campaign. It's, when you're dealing with the legal profession, you've got to it's got dotted I's and T's. I mean, you look at that application for certification and you'll see exactly how much work the law team put into it. It's a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of figures, numbers, everything, dates. It all has to be accurate. So anyway, I have an excellent case, even as it is now, but I could make it a stronger case. The stronger my case, the stronger the will be the settlement. And my settlement, I've been talking about this since the beginning, is I want to establish a foundation, call it the Ultra Nation Foundation, and this will be to deal with healing and deprogramming, and education and policy change. I mean, we've got to get new policy writing into the system in order to, nip this thing that's, gone into the medical profession and many other systems that are out of control, and they're destroying our children and generations to come with mind control. So, leading them down the wrong path. So, I mean, the dichotomy has become quite apparent to many people. It's beyond left and right, but anyway, that's what I would do. I mean, okay, so you have the rescuing the children from pedophilia, right? Satanic pedophilia movement, right? And everyone seems to gravitate to that. But really, they're not even looking at the survivors who are on YouTube giving testimony, teaching. In their words, it's more teaching and more awareness of what this actually means and what it is than the heroic organizations, fake or real or whatever they are, false hope, that are these well-intended people that don't want to see children abused are giving money to. So there's got to be a balancing, leveling happen there, because it would seem to me that the survivors who need the most help are doing all the work as well as, suffering under the program.
That is the way that it is. I mean,
yeah, I know.
It's not like, we could all be like Corey Feldman and say, hey, I want $10 million to make a film and have legal protection and give out these names.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, I do have, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, we're coming up to the end of the show, so I wanted to give you another couple of extra minutes to finish off with any extra information that you have for us.
Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot, Babe. First, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know we've been on your show before, but it's been more of the esoteric research, the sort of profoundness of it all. This is now, it's really distilled to this point, and that's a good thing. That, there is a case. I have been getting evidence. I have been getting documents. I feel very good about that. So thank you for being there with me the whole time, basically almost 3 years now, and giving and having this format and holding the fort like you're doing, and moving on forward with your platform. So that's great. Thank you for having me. Thank your co-host too. Thank the caller. Once again, I think I stated it. I think it's important the community, or what's perceived as the community of the movement, for lack of a better term, should identify. If they could identify that our win, and we are ahead of the pack here. We've gotten this far because we started earlier. We were public in the 70s with this case, so that's why. But don't let it take 50 years for all your other cases to come to this point we're at. support us, and then hopefully it'll snowball because it'll set a precedent or alert the legal community that, hey, this is a viable area of law. And really looking at it, it's a gold mine for the legal profession. And there's undeniably like countless crimes going on in the past and in the current with the targeting. So we can do this.
I really hope that we can get something done about this. I'm loving that you're leading the charge, and yes, we will be by your side during this whole event, and we'll do what we can to help. But I want to thank you for coming on to the show. We have reached the dead end of the show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, B. Good night.
Good night. Yes, thank you everyone for tuning into the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I'm your host, B. And remember, in the land of surveillance, man with the third eye is king. So educate yourselves.
Red Pill Hardcore. Keep it real. Take the red pill.